This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
So yesterday, the articles of impeachment that were drawn against Donald Trump in the House, the second version, Impeachment Part 2, they were brought from the House to the Senate, where a trial will soon begin. And Rand Paul, in an effort to gum up the works and try to have them dismissed out of hand because he believes they are illegal, he brought a motion to the floor of the Senate that was struck down 55 to 45. 5 Republicans joined the Democrats in dismissing the notion that it is illegal. And I'm going to talk in depth about why it's not illegal and why Rand Paul is a dummy and why Rand Paul absolutely has no understanding of the Constitution and he should go back to practicing eye medicine. Even though I'm not even sure if he's technically licensed to practice. I'm not sure. Maybe he is. But as a backdrop to the impeachment, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the 135 arrests that have already been made and the hundreds of individuals that are being investigated right now by the FBI. 400 or so. And many of these arrests that have been made are just by way of criminal complaint so that the federal government can actually build a case much larger than what is initially presented. Because they need to build a case and then present evidence to a federal grand jury to secure those indictments to take it to the next step, which would be trial, conviction, and sentencing for the insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol in an attempted coup that left 5 people dead. But let's address Rand Paul's genius, constitutionally understood arguments. He took to the floor of the Senate and made a case in an 8-minute and 45-second speech. We're not going to play all of it. I'm going to play about a minute and a half and then his roughly minute explanation where he reads from the Constitution. I just want to get you ready for what's to come. Brace yourselves. If you need to pause and go get a cup of coffee or a stiff drink, I don't know what time you're watching this. It might be in order. Anyway, here is Rand Paul making his silly arguments in deference to Donald Trump, who he admits isn't even the president anymore.
If we are about to try to impeach a president, where is the Chief Justice? If the accused is no longer president, where is the constitutional power to impeach him? Private citizens don't get impeached. Impeachment is for removal from office, and the accused here has already left office. Hyper-partisan Democrats are about to drag our great country down into the gutter of rancor and vitriol, the likes of which has never been seen in our nation's history. Instead of doing the nation's work, with their new majorities in the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, Democrats are wasting the nation's time on a partisan vendetta against a man no longer in office. It's almost as if they have no ability to exist except in opposition to Donald Trump.
Rancor and vitriol, the likes of which have never been seen in this country, Senator Rand Paul says. Where have you been for the last 5 years, Rand? I mean, I know you were busy lapping at the boots of Donald Trump in the obsequious fashion, like a beaten dog. We know that. We witnessed it. Were you so busy getting a taste for the boots that you didn't pay attention to the rancor and vitriol that was spewing from the mouth, from the burger hole of Donald Trump? Is that what you're saying? And instead of doing the nation's work, hyper-partisan Democrats want to go through with the impeachment of Donald Trump. One, Democrats can do 2 things at once. They can chew gum and walk at the same time. Clearly better than I'm able to talk. They can do those 2 things. So it isn't putting the business of the country on hold. And furthermore, impeaching Donald Trump and ensuring that he is not able to run for office again and stripping from him all benefits and honors of being a former president, that is the business of the country. Rand, it is the nation's work. He continues.
What's this coming to? In a few minutes, I will insist on a vote to affirm that this proceeding we are about to enter is unconstitutional, that impeachment of a private citizen is illegal and essentially a bill of attainder, and that no sense of fairness or due process would allow the judge in the proceeding to be a partisan Democrat already on favor of the impeachment. A sham, this is, a travesty.
It's a sham. It's a travesty. It's a sham travesty. It's a trav-shamistry. Oh, Rand. And here he is. I mean, really, what else is there to say about that? And here he is reading from the Constitution, and this is the guts of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to dismantle his argument piece by piece by piece, reading from not just the Constitution of the United States, but also the Federalist Papers, Alexander Hamilton, which, if you haven't read, you need to have a copy so you can refer to it, because it is the background, the history of the writing of the Constitution, where the framers were in their heads and what they based the decisions they made on. And we're going to get into that. But here is Rand Paul.
Section 4 of the Constitution says, the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 1, Section 3, Clause 6 states, when the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside. As of noon last Wednesday, Donald Trump holds none of the positions listed in the Constitution. He is a private citizen. The presiding officer is not the Chief Justice, nor does he claim to be. His presence and the Chief Justice's absence demonstrate that this is not a trial of the President, but of a private citizen. Therefore, I make a point of order that this proceeding, which would try a private citizen and not a President, a Vice President, or civil officer, violates the Constitution and is not in order.
So the crux of his argument is that because Donald Trump is not currently the President of the United States, he cannot be impeached by the House and tried by the Senate. That if any federal officer that is subject to impeachment under the Constitution, if they're just wily enough to resign prior to being impeached, whoop, there's nothing we can do. I guess we'll just wait till they run for office again in 4 years. This is nonsense. Let me read from Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. This only establishes who can be impeached, which clearly, and I'm not going to play the rest of the clip for you. You can go back and watch the speech if you're that much of a glutton for punishment. But he doesn't understand. Rand Paul doesn't understand this because he continuously made references to impeaching members of Congress. This is a punishment for those in the executive branch of government. It says nothing about former or current in the text. What it does say, though, is stark. Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution reads this: the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers, and shall have the sole power of impeachment. The sole power of impeachment. Further, Article 1, Section 3 talks about the Senate's power. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, the Chief Justice shall preside. He's whining about the Chief Justice not being there, but the trial does not start for a few days. There is no need for the Chief Justice to be there. And no person shall be convicted without concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. And then further, it says this about impeachment. There are few things that are said, and there are a lot of ambiguities because the founding fathers wrote it that way. That's why there's so much consternation surrounding the poorly written Second Amendment, the comma-riddled, terrible sentence structure of the Second Amendment. And judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. So this says it's not just about removing them from office. It's also about ensuring, if voted upon, that they're never allowed to run for office and hold office again. And that doesn't indemnify them from actual criminal prosecution. That they still can be liable and subject to the indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. So Rand Paul just doesn't understand the Constitution fundamentally. He also doesn't understand history. Because as mentioned before, I'm going to talk about the Federalist Papers. Federalist number 65, to be precise, which talks about, Alexander Hamilton is talking about the model that we based impeachment on here in the United States. Great Britain's model of impeachment. The model from which this idea of the institution has been borrowed. Again, this is Alexander Hamilton, a guy who was there. He knows what he's talking about. Has been pointed out that course to the convention. In Great Britain, it is the province of the House of Commons to prefer the impeachment, and of the House of Lords to decide upon it. Several of the state constitutions have followed the example. As well the latter as the former seem to have regarded the practice of impeachments as a bridle in the hands of the legislative body upon the executive servants of the government. Is not this the true light in which it ought to be regarded? Now, Great Britain was the model, and the case we base our version of impeachment on. And I'm going to read from a Slate article that talks about the specific case of impeachment in Great Britain that we did indeed base our impeachment system on. This is an article from yesterday, January 26th. It was firmly established in Britain at the time of the founding, the United States' founding, that former officers were subject to impeachment. Indeed, the British impeachment that most informed the framers' thinking about the impeachment power was the impeachment of Warren Hastings for improprieties as the Governor General of Bengal. Hastings had been out of this office for 2 years before his impeachment by the House of Commons. Moreover, at least 2 states, Virginia and Delaware, had established that their impeachment power extended to former officers. Against this background, it is particularly telling that there is no indication in the Federalist Papers or in any other significant commentary from the founding era indicating that the framers intended the new Constitution to deviate from this baseline understanding. And not only that, it's not even the first time in the United States history that an executive branch individual was impeached after having resigned. William Belknap was the Secretary of War for Ulysses S. Grant, and he was impeached. Or articles of impeachment were drawn. He resigned, and then the House decided to go through with impeachment. They debated it, they voted on it, they decided they were going to impeach him. Articles of impeachment were sent to the Senate, where it was also voted on, where it was also debated and voted on, and they decided to go to trial. In fact, the vote was 37-29. It's not the first time. This is not new. And Rand Paul is either just an ignorant, daft clown who's not dedicating himself to the study. to going into the Senate library and getting a more granular understanding of the history and our founding and the writing and drafting of the Constitution, or it's a shell game. He's trying to misdirect. He's trying to send MAGA-land into a fury, into a frenzy again over the impeachment and removal of their Emperor King, Donald Trump. And that's where we are. 5 senators, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Mitt Romney, Ben Sasse, and Pat Toomey, are the only ones who voted to move forward. Even Mitch McConnell, who said that it was at Donald Trump's behest that those insurrectionists stormed the Capitol, putting all of their lives in danger. Not just Mike Pence, not just Democrats, all of their lives were in danger. And they're willing to look the other way. They're willing to damage the Republic. Maybe that's their intent. Anyway, I would love to know what you think. Please give me a call, 714-576-4054. You can always email me, daily@dollemore.com. I would love to hear your perspective. If you think I'm off base, I'd especially love to hear. The other thing I would ask is that you consider becoming a channel member. Consider supporting my work here on YouTube for as little as $2 a month. You can click the join button right below the video there, become a channel member, and help support my independent analysis and commentary on the day's news. There are many days ahead, and just because Donald Trump is no longer in office doesn't mean that the work of me and others in my space in this on YouTube are not just as important. I've said it before. I'll continue to say it. If I'm not your flavor, that is okay. I'm not for everybody. But if there is somebody out there in this analysis and commentary space on YouTube, if there is someone out there who does bring you value, support that person. Throw that person a couple bucks a month. It's very important. Follow me on social media. I'd love to connect with you there. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Big things are in store this year on this channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Take care of one another.